Hi guys, and welcome to this video on the full moon in Scorpio that happens on the 16th of May 2022. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Now, a full moon in itself is a big deal, right? That's why I make these full moon and new moon videos. But this isn't just any old full moon. This is a total lunar eclipse on the south node, and it's also a blood moon. So this is a major significant astrological event. The chart you see next to me here, that's a snapshot of the sky at the moment this eclipse is going to take place. So I'm going to analyze this chart to see how it influences all of us down here on planet Earth. But most importantly, I'm going to try and look for what opportunities exist within this energy and how you can use it to your advantage. So it happens at 5:13 in the morning, and that's based on Central European time. If you're in a different time zone, then please take that into account. For instance, I know that if you're west of Europe, then this happens late in the evening on the 15th of May. But I always mention this, and I want to mention it again. I always feel that a full moon and a new moon, those are kind of 3-day events. So you don't have to time it to the exact minute. It's something that you feel for quite a number of days. But with this being an eclipse and a full moon that's interrupted, the influence of an eclipse lingers and hangs around for 6 months. So that in itself makes this very important because we're going to be influenced by this now for the majority of 2022. And I think trying to get a clear understanding of what this is all about is a good idea. And the blood moon in itself is interesting as well because it's created via this eclipse process. So we've got the sun on one end, we've got the earth in the middle. The sun shines its light onto the earth, and the earth then casts a shadow, the umbra of the earth, right? And that's kind of reddish rust colored. The moon then passes through this shadow, and that's why it takes on this blood moon appearance. But in the divination systems, astrology, tarot, numerology, nothing is seen as arbitrary. So the fact that it is red at this time means a number of things. So blood is associated with what's going on beneath the surface. It's the source of all life, it's life force, it's power, it's really that force which is unseen but kind of provides fuel to everything else. So it's something that really influences the whole of your experience. The color red is also associated with the root chakra, and the root chakra has to do with your connection to the earth, what you're emotionally connected with, what's important to you, where you want to have control in a physical way. So how you live, what you do for work. So it's kind of being able to go beyond the surface level and to dive deep into what's going on for you internally in order to identify what is important to you and what you can do on this planet in a practical sense. So it's a combination of that red and rust color. You know, rust has to do with iron, and that certainly is associated with planet Earth and strength and foundation and building things in future. The fact that it's on a south node, the south node is what has happened in the past or what you're letting go of. And when we have a full moon eclipse on the south node, it's about letting go of what no longer serves you and kind of detoxing. Whereas a solar eclipse is about bringing things in and being energized, this is about clearing the deck and lightening the load and the burden. So the fact that the moon is in Scorpio makes this even more profound because Scorpio is like the occultist. It's the journalist, the investigative journalist, the emotional detective. It's the metaphysical writer, the healer, the channel, the hermit, all of those kind of professions and endeavors which try and identify the root cause of something, especially if it's hidden and if it takes quite a lot of skill to discover and identify. You know, I was thinking about this earlier, but you know that song Total Eclipse of the Heart? I would associate total eclipse of the heart with an eclipse, a lunar eclipse. A solar eclipse, I would say that's a total eclipse of the head. So that's what this is. It's like a restart to what's going on for you emotionally. And most of us build up these identities for ourselves made up of how we feel in the moment, our history, our experiences, what has gone on in the past, and how that shapes our worldview. And that's a discrepancy between the heart and the head, right? If I have been rejected a few times and then I decide to adopt this faulty belief that says other human beings don't love me and it's always has to be painful being with other people, then if I believe that, I'm going to create a reality that doesn't necessarily support me. So it's key to go beyond that thought, or to identify what came before it, i.e. the hurt and pain of being rejected, and to heal that in order to let go of the thought. So any emotional work that you do on this day, I feel is going to have a major impact on the way you see your life and the world and other people, and your perception around things is going to change. So it's like a car, right? Under the hood, we've got all the engine stuff. You're perfecting and cleaning out the engine so that when you close the hood again, the car speeds off and appears to just glide on the road or whatever, so that the mechanics of it are no longer in question. They've been perfected so that the vehicle can thrive as such. So that's what we're doing here. We're doing inner mechanics so that your outer self can feel freer and more liberated. So the moon here is at 25 degrees in Scorpio. And the moon in Scorpio in itself is very psychic. You know, if I'm looking at someone's birth chart and they ask me, do I have any intuitive abilities? And I see in a moon in Scorpio, the answer is yes. You have more than enough. Because the moon is really what happens vibrationally and internally for you. And Scorpio is able to get the answer to any question. So if you're, oh, that's interesting. So you may get clues from your higher self as to what needs to change. So if something has been nagging at you for a while, so for instance, the message, you know, this job really exhausts you and you've been like on the floor for 2 years. Can you please do something about it? You don't need to live like this. But you're like, oh, well, I've got the kids and I've got the pension plan and all the bills to pay and the benefits and stuff. I can't change this right now. Then during this kind of eclipse, that's going to come back, that voice, and it's going to say, well, you're still overworked and tired all the time. Please change it. 25 is the mind and creativity, and that's useful. Very apt, actually, because like I said a moment ago, that there's a disconnect between the heart and the head. If the mind is adaptable and you're thinking creatively, then it's kind of cooperating with your feelings and it's saying, oh, okay, the feelings have changed. All right, let's get creative with what we're getting from down here and maybe reinterpret some of the things that are going on a conscious level so that we see things differently. So your feelings are not set in stone. One, they come and go, they're temporary. But with this moon in Scorpio, 25 degrees, we're also saying that you have some control over your feelings and you can really identify and almost capture the negative ones, bring them to the light, heal them so that you can replace them with some more positive ones. And I think that's something that most people would be interested in. My attention is just being drawn to the modes here in this chart. Most of the modes are fixed. So signs that are about securing what is. But then we've got the moon, this tiny little emotional ferret kind of mole thing, burrowing down and going within the cracks of all that structure and saying, okay, what is it that needs to change here on a fundamental level? Or it could be even like, I mean, this is a bit gross, but you know when you have a crown in your teeth and then under that crown, like you have a cavity or something, the whole crown needs to come off, the whole structure needs to come off, the thing needs to be drilled away, the cavity, so that the structure can be replaced and the crown can be put back on. So that's what this is. Stripping yourself down and making yourself really vulnerable isn't a super pleasant experience for most of us, but it's so essential to do the hard inner work if you want to not be bogged down by things. If you're, the happiest and most carefree person in the world and you never have a problem ever, which I mean is impossible, but maybe there is someone out there like that, then this is a great time to spend time with loved ones and people who make you feel seen and heard and where you feel important and loved. That's going to work for you. If you do have something that you're not happy with, something that causes you pain, then looking at that, it's almost like you're parenting yourself, or your adult self is going within where the hurt inner child resides, and you're comforting it and you're helping it out. And you're saying, let's re-educate ourselves here. And again, most of us don't give ourselves this time because life continues. But if you take the time out to do this work, and here you've got a 6-month period, then certain things become far less significant in your life because they no longer trigger or hurt you. Okay, so then we do have elements in this chart as well, obviously, and the strongest element on this day is air. It's kind of interesting because air is about communication and the mind and the way you see things. So we've got the 7 of the moon, mind and creativity, plus the strongest element, air. It's almost like all this stuff is happening for you emotionally, and it's like your mind is sitting on the sidelines or in a lecture hall kind of thing, paying major attention to what's going on and taking notes. And I've never really seen that in any reading I've done. So the emotional effort really pays off because your mind is paying attention to it and it wants to shrug certain things off. So the south node is, if I look at your south node in a birth chart, it shows me where you're coming from on a soul level. And then the north node shows me what you're moving towards. So it shows me your life purpose pretty much. And here, sitting on the moon, like I said earlier, it's about releasing things. 22 is the master number of the builder, and Scorpio is that inner woundedness that's longing to be healed, or the emotional connection that wants to be established. So 22, something major that exists within you that you may want to disconnect from. You can throw it at the spaceship and watch it be sucked out into the universe. Or if it's something that's eluded you, something where you feel you've never had a connection, you're able to make that major big leap too by building this big stone bridge. So the thing that's coming to mind here, when I was 28 and I started to get into recovery, I was like told that the solution to my problem was spiritual. But I'd had so many negative experiences with organized religion and stuff, I was really against it. But I was really at my wit's end, so I was just like, okay, I'm willing to try. And then I tried to connect with this thing of faith. I always felt like, oh yeah, faith is like genetic. You're either born with faith or you're not. And I just don't have one, so whatever. But it wasn't that. It was that I was hurt and I'd shut that spiritual part of myself down. And that I just kind of stumbled my way through life until the age of 28. When I became willing and I said, hey, I haven't got any evidence or I haven't got anything to show that there might be something bigger, but except these people telling me I should become willing to trust that or maybe possibly believe it, that's all it took for something to take root and to start to grow. So that's what I mean with, if you've never been able to connect with something that seems outside of your reach, so the perfect job or faith or a sense of having a home, whatever it is that's still missing, say, this is what I feel, and no matter how painful it is, realizing that this is not in my life, I'm going to try and find a way to alter how I feel about the present in order to accept that this is where I am right now, and that then heals it and actually paves the way for you to manifest what you want in future. So it's, oh, that's interesting. So you need to accept it first in order to heal the thing, and then you can focus on what you want. But if you're just like, oh, I'm lonely, I'm in pain, let's get married, then that's not the way to do it, because you're still hurt by this loneliness. So the choice in partner is going to be influenced by that. And you want to get rid of the painful influence first. Okay, so the potential for healing, and that once you're then healed, then you scoot off with what you want to do next. The sun is at 25 degrees in Taurus. So the sun is your conscious identity. Again, at 25, it's 7, the mind and creativity. And in Taurus, it's your physical incarnation, your practical world, your environment, your money, your work, all of the things that exist on planet Earth. So the fact that it opposes the moon here doesn't just mean that this emotional work is going to influence you on an intellectual level. It's also going to flow over into your practical circumstances. So this is like a roundabout way of manifesting things in a healthier way. Mercury is at 3 degrees in Gemini, in retrograde, on top of the sun. And Mercury in Gemini is very articulate. In retrograde, it looks inward to try and understand, and 3 degrees is communication. Mercury, therefore, the retrograde actually works in your favor because it gives the emotional detective, the thing that wants to uncover hidden secret, it gives it the extra insight and clarity of Mercury to look around in the dark, in the inner world. The moon also forms certain relationships. First of all, it sextiles Pluto at 28 degrees in Capricorn. So for a lot of people, the emotional healing and insight, they're going to lead to real life changes, especially when it comes to living situation and work. So if that's something that's up for discussion in your life, am I still happy in this job? Think about that here during this eclipse. You're going to get some really concrete answers. Then it squares Saturn at 24 degrees in Aquarius. So that's like, do you know what? I am sick and tired of being told how I should live my life. Okay? I don't want to live it how I want to live it, thank you. I feel that really strongly. So this is like, listen, I'm doing all this inner work for a reason, okay? Don't tell me you live by the lake and that's why I should live by the lake too. This is my experience, and stop distracting me or trying to influence me. So if you have a problem kind of standing up for yourself, you're not going to have an issue with that here on the 16th. Then we also have the moon forming a trine with several things, with Mars and Neptune and Jupiter. Wow. So Mars is the planet of drive and ambition. At 23 degrees in Pisces, it's spiritual freedom. It says that I want to understand what's going on within me as a spiritual being so that my incarnation on planet Earth can look different. Neptune at 24 degrees in Pisces gives you the opportunity for total spiritual expansion and access. So it's like you can traipse around the higher realms and understand what's going on, and the higher realms equaling your inner realms via the Scorpio connection. So the universe exists within you. Jupiter is at 0 degrees in Aries. Whenever you have anything at 0 degrees in the chart, I see that as bringing its quintessential nature. And Jupiter is good luck and expansion and growth. And Aries is about making progress. So this healing process is there for a reason. It's not just to make you uncomfortable. It's to liberate you from your own pain so that you can function more effectively. I was just thinking as I was looking, is there ever going to be a day when we're done healing, when we're all healed up and everything's wonderful? In my experience, the human condition is to be unhealed. And that's why we get these opportunities for extra healing. And you may think, well, if I'm always going to be unhealed, what's the point? It's the level of unhealed. You know, if you're so traumatized that you're practically catatonic, then that's one thing. But doing a lot of inner work and then simply just cringing when you think about the worst moment in your life and then getting on with your day without being overly bothered by it, that's a whole nother experience. And we're trying to minimize the pain and the suffering here. We also then have the moon forming oppositions, really, okay, with the sun and Mercury, but then also with Uranus and the North Node in Taurus. So Uranus is at 15 degrees in Taurus, and that says, hey, listen, if you think about your life in a less rigid way, if you look for what you can add to a situation, what you can build, how you can change things, that's what's going to move quickest. And the North Node, again, what you're moving towards on a soul level here during this time, at 22 degrees in Taurus. So you have an opportunity to heal yourself and then to land somewhere much more comfortable and solid. You know, if I know myself and if I'm all right with who I am, then my feet are much more firmly planted on the ground and I'm much more able to do things than someone who's constantly at odds with themselves and can't function without you know, a particular addiction being in place, or an obsessive compulsion to like heal something that causes constant pain. So it's really freedom from pain, emotional and even physical, because this is a full moon in Scorpio. Oh wow, I haven't even mentioned that. If you're sensitive, because I feel things like sound healing, singing bowls, Reiki healing, pranic healing, spiritual healing, any of that, I feel that works very much because I've had several experiences where I've felt something in the moment, but also afterwards I've seen things shift for the better. If you've been unwilling to try those kind of things, or you feel you're not sensitive enough, try one of those healing modalities for yourself during this eclipse. You'll be surprised at what it shifts or what it kind of rattles and brings to the surface, so you can identify it and heal it. Oh, sometimes I see something and it makes me a bit emotional, you know, like, so with the North Node at 22 degrees in Taurus, I'm seeing that this is a chance for anyone who feels like they've failed in life to start construction again. You know, if you tried to build Palace 1 when you were 15 and it burned to the ground, and then you tried to build Palace 2 at 25, but then you had a breakdown and building work had to stop, and now you're 35 and you want to build your best life ever again, but now you're so discouraged and you're like, oh, it's too late and I haven't done it and whatever. This is the time for particularly people who have gone through something to build their own personal Shangri-La, you know, their own Shambhala, where dreams can come true and they feel safe and happy and like you have a fresh start in life. Okay, so all the oppositions and squares, they form a T-square in this chart, which is an area of major friction and energy. It connects the moon and the south node in Scorpio with Saturn in Aquarius and the sun and Mercury. Okay. So I'm laughing because you're doing all this good work and you're being so wise and healing and stuff. But then this T-square says that if anyone interrupts you with their brainwashing ways and tries to intimidate or to instruct you, you're going to blow up. So, you know, just saying that means that none of us are that healed. If you have the potential to blow up, then things still have the ability to get on your nose and to make you feel like you're in pain and you need to react. So kidding aside here, really the main warning of this chart is that don't let other people distract you with what they think is wrong with you or what you ought to do next. You know, like sometimes you get, I saw someone talk about like a really serious issue. And they talked about their struggle with depression, right? And they rattled off all these things that they tried holistic therapies and treatments, and they tried medication, and they really rattled off a list of everything you can do, like CBT and yoga and talk therapy and it took like 5 minutes for this list of things this person had done in order to treat their depression. And then they said, I even tried ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, to try and get better, and nothing worked. And then one of the comments said something really like unhelpful, like, have you tried, I don't know, getting a dog or something? You know, like, this is a person who just spent 5 minutes listing all the serious things that they have attempted in order to heal this very difficult situation. You don't think they considered getting a dog? I mean, that was just my example, okay? But it was something so blatant that it would have been one of the first things that person would have tried. It was just so obvious. So things like that might annoy you on this day, and don't let that distract you, because you are doing genuine major improvements, like an internal renovation is going on, and you don't need people poking their nose in and saying, oh, when's the due date, and when are you done by, and what's the budget, and are you sure you want these taps in the new house, all that stuff. I mean, people mean well most of the time, but sometimes it just doesn't work. Oh, we've got, if you turn if you stand on your head for a second, the sextile between the moon and Pluto forms another sextile with Pluto and Mars and Neptune. And then it sextiles Uranus and Taurus. And that's like, it looks like a bowl to me. It looks like a chalice in the tarot, like the suit of cups. And cups has to do with water, spirituality. So we've got the moon and Pluto and Neptune, the water planet, and then Mars in Pisces and Uranus in Taurus. Interesting. So the spiritual access allows you to, so it makes sense. I've already mentioned this, but particularly if you're stuck in work, it allows you to make sense of that. But it extends to the physical. If you've got something that's unhealed in you on a physical level, by meditating on that, you will get an idea or an answer that's going to be a useful part of your healing journey. So on top of the doctors you see and on top of the holistic therapists and stuff, you'll get messages directly from source that allow you to kind of restructure the bones of your physical environment. And because it's a cup, then that's a way to practice good self-care and to love yourself. And that's what this is all about. Healing yourself so you have a better experience. Wow. Okay. So and now I'm just being prompted to finish off with the blood moon, because if the blood moon is us at our most core level and getting to really the thing that gives us life and power and the ability to even exist on this planet, then that's how important this emotional understanding is, because it's like you can detox yourself and bring back life and energy to your own system. Wow. Okay. So you are your own best therapist here during this eclipse. So that's what I get. I hope that gives you something to go on. If you have any questions for me, please get in touch with me for a personal reading. You can do that by going to gregoryscott.com. On the front page of the website, just click on book your reading to order your reading with me. In my personal readings, I use astrology, the tarot, and numerology, and I combine all of them, like I combined the astrology with the numbers here. If you have any questions about your life purpose or education, how you operate within institutions, relationships, work, children, your home, your roots, communication, money, personal development, spiritual development, friendships, hopes and dreams, career, anything at all, please do get in touch with me for a personal reading. Also, if you want to see what's coming up in future, I look at your progress chart, your transits, and if it's around your birthday, I do a solar return chart to see what's coming up in the months and years ahead. And I also use the astrocartography if there are questions around moving and locations, which location is going to work best for you. So a birth chart is me on planet Earth looking up, and the astrocartography is the reverse. I'm positioned in the sky and I see how the planets are moving over different parts of the Earth at the moment you were born and how each area is going to influence you. So if you have any questions or if any of that interests you, then please do get in touch with me for a personal reading. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please hit subscribe and share it online. Have an amazing day, and I'll speak to you soon for the daily tarot readings and all the other videos I make on this channel. All the best.